What's up, guys? I'm Jack, and this is Daisy. Nice. Good job. And welcome to another video. So today is kind of a little passion project challenge run. I really love Scythes. They are my favorite fantasy weapon by far, so I wanted to see how easy it would be to defeat all of the Elden Ring bosses with Scythes. And for once, collecting the random drop scythes wasn't a huge problem. It only took me like 15 minutes to get the grave scythe, and then maybe another 15 to get the halo scythe. That was crazy. Anyway, what are the rules of this run? I'm going with standard Nuzlocke rules for this, plus all of my extra normal rules. You know, no buffing incantations, all remembrances, no glitches, that sort of stuff. And if you don't know what a Nuzlocke is, that just means that I have access to only scythes for this run, and if I die, I lose access to whatever scythe I was using at the time. If I lose all of my scythes, I lose the run. And in Elden Ring, there are 5 Reapers, as they're called, and 15 Remembrance bosses? So yeah. Let's get into it. So, Godfrey the Grafted barely got to his second phase. We destroyed him with Phantom Slash and Bleed Affinity on the regular scythe. And with Godfrey down, we can run through Liurnia to grab the Glintstone Key, and then head through the Academy to find our way to Rennala. The Red Wolf of Radagon this time was not a problem, since we had fire on our grave scythe, and Rennala fell very quickly afterwards. And I do want to take a second just to say thank you to everybody. Guys, we're almost at 10,000 subscribers. Maybe by the time this video comes out, we will be. That's fucking insane. Excuse my language. That's just very exciting. It feels like just yesterday that we were at like 10 subscribers and then maybe like getting up to 100, and oh my god. So what I'm trying to say is thank you for all of your support, and especially to those who have been here since the beginning. Everything means the world. You guys have been the best ever. While we're here, I'm just gonna thank my channel members as well. Micah, Mary Beer, and if anybody else has joined since then, thank you all in particular for your support. Also, the people who comment like every week, like Dark Flames and Fem, I'm sure I'm missing some people too. Those are the first 2 that came to my mind, but I love you guys, so I look forward to seeing your comment every single week. All of this is to say that every single one of you is greatly appreciated. Okay, let's get to the run. So Radahn was a bit more difficult than the first 2 bosses, which were pushovers and usually are pushovers. And this is in New Game Plus 3, so the bosses are starting to do a little bit of damage to us, but it's still not ridiculous yet. I know that I need to do a New Game Plus 7 challenge run, or like a series of New Game Plus 7 challenge runs. I'm scared too, honestly. I have one character, my main character, that is on New Game Plus 7, or 8, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. So the first half of the Radahn fight does start to take away a lot of our health here. I don't know why, but I was getting hit by like every single attack that I should have dodged, and I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it with the Halo scythe during this run. So I'm sure many of my returning viewers know that I love the deflecting hard tier from Shadow of the Erdtree. It's basically all I use in boss fights for my Wondrous Physic. So the problem with scythes is that their guard counter kind of sucks. That doesn't come into play too much during the Radahn fight, but it definitely does later on. It's just super slow and inconsistent to hit. And honestly, scythes, their moveset in general in Elden Ring is just not great. I hate to say it, because again, these are my favorite fantasy weapons. Their range isn't as much as it should be. They're a bit slow, and they don't really do that much poise damage. Their saving grace is that basically every scythe in the game does have innate bleed damage, and we are all well aware of how powerful bleed is as a status condition. So we get into phase 2, and we still have some of our healing left, though not as much as I would have liked. Again, I got hit by a lot of attacks that I really shouldn't have, but as long as we play it smart here, we should be okay. And I don't really play it smart because I get hit by like all of his attacks. But rather than go for things like guard counters or the Ash of War, I've started to go for jump attacks. I was trying to get a poise break or a bleed off, and I thought jump attacks might be my best option. They're usually pretty safe and quick. Well, we only have one more healing flask left and Radahn is almost dead. So, let's use that last healing flask before we die. Good lord, this is way closer than it should be. Radahn charges at us, and I am afraid of his meteors, honestly, so I run away. I want to get behind a hill or something that can block that meteor attack from hitting me because I have died to that on many occasions, and I don't want to repeat that here at the beginning of this run. And my plan works perfectly as intended. His meteor attack goes off and misses us, which gives us a chance to counterattack. Our light attacks do a pretty substantial amount of damage with each hit, and one more bleed or 2 or 3 more light attacks should finish this fight. So, let's finish it. Thank God we didn't die there. That would have been rough. So with Radahn down, we're going to head into the Underworld. So we go through Limgrave and into, oh my god, Nokron? Yeah, I don't know why I can't think of names right now, but we light all the fires and then touch this dude's corpse to begin the boss fight. And for this fight, I'm bringing in the Winged Scythe. Now, this scythe in particular has an Ash of War called Angel's Wings, and when you hit an enemy with that Ash of War, it prevents them from healing. So I wanted to see if that would prevent the Regal Ancestor Spirit from doing his healing attack. And it absolutely does not. So it basically, what it does is it doesn't let anybody use a Flask of Crimson Tears. So if there's an NPC invader or a regular invader, they can't heal with their flask, but it does not prevent any bosses from using their healing attacks. Unfortunately, that would have been really cool. It's also one of 2 scythes that does holy damage innately. 2 scythes out of 5. The other 5 don't do any other damage type innately, so we don't have a fire scythe, we don't have a magic scythe or a lightning scythe, we don't even have a cool ice scythe like Frida's scythe in Dark Souls 3. That would have been awesome. No, we get 2 holy scythes and then 3 regular boring scythes. Sorry, I'm just salty about this. How hard would it have been to put a black flame scythe in this game? That would have been so cool. Or just put a carbon copy of Frida's scythe in the game. That was a great one. Sorry. I'll stop my ranting. Anyway, with one last poise break, we take down the Regal Ancestor Spirit, and we can move on to our next fight. And we're gonna stay in the Underworld for this. We're gonna keep going until we beat Astel. But before we go any further, I do want to go ahead and grab Radahn's Great Rune from the Divine Tower of Caelid. It's just an overall great rune that increases our vigor and stamina pretty substantially. So with that Great Rune equipped, we can go ahead and fight the Valiant Gargoyle duo, who, they do poison me and take out a lot of my health, but I do manage to take both of them out without dying, thankfully. And so far, we're still out of no death run, so that's pretty good. Now, on my way to Astel, I grab all these Newman's runes and rune arcs, of course, and then grab the Site of Grace at the Nameless Eternal City. We run through Ainzel River, across a Lake of Rot, and then we can eventually make our way to Astel's arena. And for this fight, we are using the Obsidian Laminae. I'm just going to call it Ansbach's Scythe for the rest of this run, just because, yeah. But this scythe has an Ash of War known as Dynastic Sickle Play. And it's basically just the Bloodhound's Fang Ash of War, but slightly better. Maybe slightly worse, actually. Bloodhound's Fang is really good. But yeah, it just allows you to dodge back, giving you a lot of iframes before you can jump in and get an attack off. That does some pretty decent damage. It's a good Ash of War overall, and it's a great scythe. Looks cool. One of my new favorites. I will say, it's definitely in my top 5 Reapers in this game. Get it? Because there are only 5 of them, so all of them are the top 5. I'm so funny. You guys should subscribe. So Astel usually isn't a problem, especially when we have weapons that can hit this dude's big dumb head. And Ansbach's Scythe here does a wonderful job of hitting Astel's head. So honestly, I think we should get a poise break here soon. Oh, we got a bleed, even better. Yeah, this fight's almost over. But yeah, 1 or 2 more hits after we dodge these meteors should take us into a poise break, and that's the fight. Well, that's all the Underworld bosses that I care to beat right now. We have one more in, what's his name, Fortissax, but we won't get to him for a little bit. So we can teleport back to Altus Plateau, defeat the Draconic Tree Sentinel pretty easily with our regular Scythe and the Phantom/Ash of War, which is just so good. It's so good. And then we could head through Leyndell, climb a big dumb tree, and that'll take us right up to Gideon and Godfrey. Which, yeah, this should be a quick fight. Gideon and Godfrey down, and that takes us right into our next fight, which actually gave us problems. I'm not even gonna lie, this is the second difficult fight that we're gonna have to face in this challenge run. And Morgott right here, no, Morgott, can either be really easy or really hard, depending on how much he tries to combo you. In this case, he tries really hard. And I try to use my deflecting hard tier to hit him, then get a guard counter, but it just doesn't work because the Scythe's guard counter is really bad. Yeah, I'm planning on doing a guard counter only run here soon. I'm not too sure which weapon I'm gonna use for that, but I'll tell you one thing, it's definitely not gonna be a Scythe. Anyway, with our Phantom/Ash of War, we can get some good damage off before Morgott almost destroys us. Again, it just does great damage, but Morgott does some pretty good damage to us, and we have almost died like 3 times already in this fight. And I would really rather not lose this Scythe, because if I lose this Scythe, I also lose the Phantom/Ash of War. But we do manage to get a bleed, which takes Morgott into a poise break. We get some massive damage, and since we got a poise break during his phase transition, he's not in phase 2 yet. So we go for a Phantom/Ash of War, and that takes him down before he can even phase transition. So even though we did have some difficulties during this fight, we did manage to get a 1 phase, which is pretty crazy all things considered. Alright, with that we got some more running to do. We head through the Forbidden Lands. By the way, that's the Knights Cavalry that drops the Phantom/Ash of War if you ever need to get that. And we head through the mountaintops of the Giants before making our way into the Fire Giants Arena. And I'm going to start to skip through this fight a bit because it is pretty long. One important thing to note here is that I swapped out Black Flame Tornado for Sword Dance on this Grave Scythe right here, and I gave it the Bleed affinity to get the most damage possible out of it. And that is, of course, because the Fire Giant just has so much health, like so much. And after a few slashes, we can break his ankle brace thingy, and then get a nice bleed off on him. Wow. We did a lot of damage in a very short amount of time, and that is amazing. And once we chase him down again, we can once again do a lot of damage. And by the way, the Grave Scythe here is hands down the best scythe in the game. It just does the most base damage. You can use any Ash of War on it. It's awesome. It's also the heaviest scythe in the game, but it looks the coolest, so I mean, like, yeah, it's definitely worth using. It's just kind of annoying to farm. Anyway, with a couple more sword dances, we can get the Fire Giant into phase 2, and I'm betting he's pretty close to another bleed by now. Spoilers, he wasn't. So it was pretty slow going for a while. I basically just chased him around, tickled him with our scythe for a little bit, for another 2 minutes until we finally managed to get that bleed off, which took him pretty low. And after chasing him down a little bit more, we can finally finish this fight. Still deathless, but that is sure to change as soon as we approach Maliketh. Yeah, I always lose to him on my first attempt every single time without fail. So we're gonna lose a scythe here. And I'm just gonna cut to the chase. We run through the crumbling Farm Azula, destroy the Godskins with the help of some sleep pots, and continue to make our way forward, hopefully not dying along the way. And nice, we do manage to make it all the way to Maliketh's arena without dying. Let's see how this goes. Yep, I knew it. Every single time I lose on my first attempt to Maliketh. And in this case, we lost the Halo Scythe, which honestly I'm not too mad about. I bring Ansbach's Scythe in next because I think that'll be a pretty good option for Maliketh's second phase, so hopefully we'll be able to clear that out before we die this time. That being said, it would really suck to lose this Scythe. I really want to use it against Malenia. I think that would be a lot of fun. So I do manage to successfully hit a guard counter, which just does great damage, and then I get hit by a few of his attacks, and I get some more off myself, almost taking him into phase 2. That being said, Maliketh almost took another one of our lives. A running heavy attack can get us into a poise break, and a riposte will take us into phase 2. And since we were in the riposte animation before phase 2 started, we spawn in a different place than normal. And I really got to be careful here. The thing that always destroys me in the second phase is just trying to go for guard counters when I know it's not going to work. That and getting caught in his stupid dumb combos. So, yeah. I just gotta be better. Yeah, that's the secret. I just gotta be better. So we barely managed to stay alive before we do get a guard counter and a poise break, which is nice, and it takes down Maliketh pretty low. An Ash of War use after that can take him to about one-shot range. So we might actually finish this fight with only one death. We're not out of the woods yet because we never are with Maliketh. But I do manage to dodge the combo that usually gets me done for, and then we can run up to finally finish this fight. Right? Right? Come on, just, okay, there we go. Okay, I will be right back. I'm gonna go surfing with my boy, and it's like February, so the water is freezing, but it's also my last chance to go before I move, so yeah, I'll be back in a little bit. Enjoy this fun, dumb Gideon fight. Whew, that water was cold. Oh my god. But I had fun nonetheless. Alright, on to Godfrey. Oh, I didn't even talk about Gideon. So remember earlier when I said that the winged Scythe stops health regen? Yeah, that worked perfectly for Gideon. He could not even get a second to heal though. Anyway, we got to Godfrey, got some great hits off on him, and then he destroyed us. So, hi Daisy. There goes the winged Scythe, and I'm honestly not too mad about that. So attempt 2, I use the Obsidian Laminae once more, and this does some pretty good damage against him, especially with the Ash of War use. I first got some guard counters off and a nice poise break and riposte, and we should be pretty close to a bleed at this point too. So this will be a very quick first phase, as long as we don't die right here. Phew, okay, we managed to escape that in time, and come on, 1 or 2 more hits, just hit him, get that bleed, don't die. So I do get slammed by his next few attacks, but eventually manage to get a guard counter off, which does some decent damage. And as he transitions to his 1.5 phase, we use Dynamic Sickle Plate to dodge the big AoE attack and get off a, hi Daisy, a beautiful combo. And this manages to get us another poise break, which will take us right into phase 2. And I don't expect phase 2 to be too long here. Again, I think we're really close to a bleed maybe, or possibly it happened during the phase transition. I can't really tell. What was that? Say that again. We spent the next 30 seconds or so running around dodging some attacks before we could finally get some hits off again. And this happened during his phase 2.5 transition. Dynamic Sickle Plate is a really good Ash of War. It gives us a lot of iframes during our backwards dodge. Finally, we get one last poise break and riposte, and this fight is over. Cool, that wasn't too bad. Still, we did lose our second Scythe, and well, we only have 3 left, and still quite a few bosses, including the most difficult ones. With that, we're gonna make some food, but I don't really have much right now. I have potato and egg and cheese and flour, so we're gonna make gnocchi. So we're gonna start by slicing our potato, and it would have been a good idea to peel the skin off first, but I forgot to do that, so now I have to cut it off, which takes a lot longer, but that's totally okay. After that, you're gonna go ahead and cut the potato into small chunks, and then of course put it in a pot of boiling water until the potatoes are super soft and you can break them with your fork. And once they're all done, we can take them off the heat, strain them, and then mash them a little bit. We don't really need to mash them right now, but just keep that in mind. Now we are going to put some flour, way too much salt, and an egg on a cutting board, as well as our mashed potatoes, and we're going to start to crush everything up and mix it together. Yeah, it's basically just a regular pasta recipe, but with a potato in it, which, I mean, you can't go wrong there. I also add some cheddar cheese, of course, to make it even better, and then we're going to roll it into a giant log. After that, you're going to want to break it into thirds or fourths, depending on how big it is, reflour the cutting board, and then kind of roll it out like you did with Play-Doh as a kid until it is relatively thin. I'd say about a finger and a half in girth. Now we got to cut our gnocchi, so I would recommend cutting about an inch thick so they look like tiny little pillows. And after you've cut all of them, well, we've got to put them back on the water. So we get a pot of hot water going, and then we put our gnocchi in, but don't put too many in there at once. You don't want it like overflowing. That's just not a good time. And then once the gnocchi start to float through the top of the water, that's when they're ready, and we can pour them out and strain them. After that, I put them in the air fryer to get some nice crisp on them, and they came out really, really good. They were nice and pillowy in texture, they were delicious, and it really didn't take that long to make. And I was just thinking about this randomly the other day, and I thought you guys might appreciate it. So about 2 years ago, I was a jet ski tour guide, and one day we went on the water in the morning and it was so foggy and it reminded me of Rom's arena from Bloodborne. Really, really big Rom vibes here. But I thought you guys would appreciate that. I thought it was really cool. Anyway, back to the run. We still have Mohg, Malenia, Placidusax, Fortissax, Elden Beast, and we only have 3 Scythes left, so we really can't risk losing any of them. So for Radagon, I do take in a Fire Black Flame Tornado Grave Scythe. And that's because it does so much damage to him. I mean, we took out almost half his health with a single attack. That is awesome. So the plan here is pretty simple. Step 1, get a poise break. Step 2, profit. Would you look at that damage, man? That's pretty crazy. So one more Ash of War, you should finish off Radagon here, taking us to the Elden Beast as long as I can heal up and survive. And before long, we do get our opportunity to finish off Radagon with one last guard counter. This takes us into the Elden Beast, and I decide to swap up to my regular Scythe this time. I think Phantom Slash is going to be a little bit better than the Black Flame Tornado against the Elden Beast. Probably not, but I just love the Phantom Slash Ash of War. And yeah, a full Phantom Slash combo does just a ridiculous amount of damage, so we're going to keep trying to hit him with that. It also has such good range. Oh, I can't talk enough about how good this Ash of War is. You guys really need to try it out. So very quickly into the fight, we can get a lot of damage off. Though he almost takes us down, to be fair, but we can heal up before we're in any real danger. The beast does run around and do his big circle AoE phase transition attack, but we can catch up pretty quickly and get off more Phantom Flashes for some great damage. I was really hoping for a poise break, but it just wasn't coming. I mean, it's fine, we're still chunking him, but would have been nice. And moments later, we can finally catch up to the Elden Beast once more and spam our attacks to finish this fight. I say that a lot, don't I? I say that with like every boss fight. I need to come up with something more clever. I waste no time at all running to Placidusax's arena for this fight. And I got there, I brought my Blood Phantom Slash Scythe with me because I figured this will do the most damage. And it doesn't do super well against him, but it does something. I always forget just how much health he has. But hopefully we'll be able to get a bleed off here soon, which will chunk him down pretty good. Now, for the first couple of new games, Placidusax isn't a huge threat. For me in particular, the biggest threat is always his big laser beam attack in the third phase. But for the most part, he's really not too bad. That being said, once you start getting into the later New Game Pluses, he gets rough. Like even now in New Game Plus 3, he's starting to do a lot of damage to us. So to say that I was slightly worried was an understatement after I got hit for half my health with a single attack. We still have Mohg and Malenia, and I guess Fortissax can be difficult sometimes, not really. So we really got to keep all of our 3 weapons. After a little while, we do finally get that bleed. That is awesome. And he transitions into his second phase. Also, interesting thing. So right now, as I'm recording this voiceover, I'm sitting in my apartment in Charleston, still haven't packed. I have like less than a week to pack up all of my stuff before I move. But by the time this comes out, I'll be in Connecticut with my family. So that's kind of weird to think about, that I'll be in a completely different place all packed up and moved out. It's kind of sad. And then by the time this comes out too, I'll be recording a video that'll come out in probably a week or two after that. And then when that video comes out, I'll either be on the road to Washington State or in Washington State, probably on the road to Washington State. Lots of changes coming up. I'm excited. I need a new adventure. So anyway, long story short, these are going to be a busy couple of weeks for me coming up. So if I miss a week of uploads, I am so sorry. I'm trying to get as ahead of this as I possibly can, so I don't think I'll miss any weeks. But if I do, I apologize. And regardless, I am going to make a little video of Daisy and I's adventure across the United States, and I'll post that up to you. It'll be fun. I'm going to take her in a cat backpack on hikes and stuff, and we're going to go skiing. I won't bring Daisy on the skiing, I don't think. That would be dangerous. But she will see the world regardless, and I am excited. Anyway, Placidusax enters his third phase, and this is where it gets dangerous for me because I suck at dodging this big laser beam attack. Luckily though, he starts to use it when we're pretty close to him, so we can dodge 90% of it and then get real close. Now, I thought this would be a perfect attack opportunity, but I got hit by his laser beam attack after all, thankfully surviving before going for a couple of phantom slashes to take him very low. I get hit for more than half of my health next, which sucks, and then get hit again while I'm healing. I've just used my last healing flask, and Placidusax ran away, so it's looking okay, I suppose. We can tank 1.5 hits. Well, hopefully we'll be able to tank just enough hits to finish this fight. That's all that matters after all. I get an extra second, so I restore my FP just in case, and we get to using some phantom slashes, hoping for a bleed. I doubt we'll get one, and we just got hit for more than half of our health. So it's actually looking pretty dangerous here. If we get hit one more time, we're done for. We get hit by some fire breath, but survive and finish this fight. I was supposed to say something else, damn it. Whatever, regardless, we can move on to our next fight, and that's going to be Fortissax. So I got to do a little bit of a quest line for this, so we head to Carrion Manor, run through the manor, defeat Loretta without any issues, talk to our mistress Ronnie to grab her blessing to open a chest, apparently. Yeah, for whatever reason, we're not allowed to open the chest here in Nokron without Ronnie's blessing. It would be really nice if we could just pick this up first and then talk to Ronnie, but whatever. Regardless, she gives us the Carrion inverted statue, and then we begin to ascend the tower. And down means up, so I hop right off and almost die, but I managed to quit out just in time before we can make our way to the top. You guys want to know something really interesting? So a lot of the times for these runs, I will drink a profound amount of caffeine beforehand because I like to think it makes my brain faster and makes me play better. But when I do, I can almost never quit out when I'm falling. Like, my fingers always mess something up when I'm trying to quit out in time. But when I don't drink caffeine, I can always perfectly quit out if I'm, like, about to die. So I'm not actually sure if caffeine makes you a better gamer or not. But that's not going to stop me from drinking coffee every morning. Anyway, we talk to Fia and enter her deathbed dream to fight Fortissax, and he's actually doing a lot of damage to us here. Like Placidusax, Fortissax actually starts to get a little bit difficult once you enter the New Game Plus cycles. Now, he doesn't do as much damage as Placidusax, but he's still chunking us down a little bit, so we gotta be careful. I'm using Ansbach's Scythe, and I wish I could just use the Phantom Slash Ash of War because that would make things so much easier. But I thought it might be overpowered if we just used that for every single boss. So, Ansbach's Scythe it is. So with the Obsidian Laminae, we can of course do our little dodges and counterattacks, and they do a solid amount of damage to Fortissax when we manage to get one off. I also go for a lot of jump attacks here just because it's significantly easier to hit Fortissax with those than the Ash of War, and those also do good damage. I'm hoping to get a poise break of course from these jump attacks, because that would likely lead to a bleed as well, which would just be so nice. And I will say, as cool as this scythe is, the one major drawback of it is that since you can't infuse it with any Ashes of War, you can't apply the bleed affinity, so it's stuck at like 50-60 bleed, whereas my regular scythe is at like 120 bleed. After many jump attacks, we do finally manage to get a bleed on Fortissax here, which takes him to about one-shot range. Well, not yet, he's like 3-shot range here, but we'll get him there, don't worry. So, this was a relatively easy fight overall. I mean, I didn't expect Fortissax to be difficult necessarily, but, you know, It is New Game Plus 3, so I thought we might have a little bit of trouble. Oh. Well, we did have trouble, but our next attempt with the Phantom Slash did lead to Fortissax's end. Well, that sucks, because I really wanted to use the Obsidian Laminae against Malenia. I thought that would make for a really fun boss fight, but I guess we're using either Phantom Slash or... Daisy, don't destroy that, please. Or more likely, the Black Flame Tornado. Anyway, after that, I grabbed the 2 Haligtree Secret Medallions, safely head towards Malenia through the secret Haligtree passage. I said, safely head to Malenia through the secret Haligtree passage, and then we can go to the Consecrated Snowfield to grab the Site of Grace at, what's this place called? Ordina Liturgical Town. Yeah, that's it. But before I do the whole puzzle there, we're going to go ahead and fight Mohg. So we run through the teleporter, head through some lakes and marshes of blood, which is just disgusting, and enter Mohg's arena. So for this fight, I am, of course, bringing in my Phantom Slash Scythe, just because I think I am going to use the Black Flame Tornado against Malenia, so we'll use this guy one last time, and then use Black Flame against Malenia, so I think that's fair. And more often than not, Mohg is one of the bosses that almost defeats us every single time. It's probably the Blood Flame he scatters all around the arena, but yeah, usually he leaves us about one shot before we can take him out. He's really not even that difficult. It's... oh god, we almost died there. Yeah, it's just the Blood Flame that's everywhere, I think. Maybe. And his dumb phase transition where he heals like half of the health that we took from him. But it's fine. Everything's fine. So, our Phantom Slashes do a lot of damage. Like, a lot. And they very quickly get bleeds against Mohg. So before long, we can take him into his phase transition with barely any of his health left, which is just crazy. Though he is going to heal a bit from this right now, but that's okay. Because I do spam Phantom Slash in the meantime, and we can get him down basically back to where he was before he restored his health. And it's really not too many more uses of our Phantom Slash before Mohg falls. Cool. That was, for once, a pretty easy Mohg fight. And on my way to Ordina, I did the puzzle, but I may or may not have died and lost access to our Phantom Slash Scythe. So that kind of sucked. Not how I wanted to lose it, but it is what it is, and all we have is the Grave Scythe now. So this has got to last us through the Haligtree and through Loretta, and all the way up to Malenia. And Loretta usually isn't an issue, so I wasn't too worried about the Grave Scythe here. Until I got caught up in one of her combos, and yeah, the run is over. We just lost to Loretta, of all people. We're not done yet though, because I do have one other option that we can use, and it's not technically a Reaper, but I mean if the Halo Scythe is considered a Scythe, then this thing surely is. It's the Vulgar Militiamen's Sickle? I forgot what it's called. Vulgar Militiamen's Shotel. Shotel? I don't know, whatever. But it definitely looks more like a Scythe than the Halo Scythe does, so I'm gonna count it. And I think we already technically failed the run, but I just wanted a reason to keep going. So we run through the Lake of Rot here in Malenia's place, and we eventually make it down to her without too many problems. We have one shot, one opportunity to get everything we ever wanted, and what we want is a first try victory against Malenia. So I use a Golden Vow item that I just had laying around. It's not an incantation, so I'm not breaking my own rules here, and I really just wanted the best chance I possibly could get against Malenia here. So I'm using the Sword Dance Ash of War and the Shotel right here, and we are of course going for a lot of guard counters and hoping for poise breaks. I also put the bleed affinity on it because why wouldn't I? And I learned throughout this fight that this really isn't a bad weapon. Especially with its guard counters. Its guard counters are significantly quicker than any of the Reapers, so it actually gave us a better chance than the Reapers gave us. So after a few guard counters, we can break Malenia's poise and get a nice riposte, which takes her down pretty low. We also get a nice bleed, so she's already below half health. This is going a lot better than I thought it would. She also activated her Waterfowl Dance right as we were running away, so perfect timing. We barely got touched by it. The rest of Phase 1 was much the same as the first half. We got a poise break and a riposte, and as she was getting up, we got another bleed, which took her down to basically 1-shot range, maybe like 3 shots, but don't worry about it. And after a couple more hits, Malenia will fall, and we will get to the second phase right here. Phase 2 always starts with a Scarlet Aeonia, so if you follow my path, which is just straight under Malenia, and then you take an immediate right, that is the most consistent way to dodge the attack. So I do that every time. I just thought I would point that out in case somebody didn't know. And then I go in for some attacks as it's about to go away. Sword Dance does okay damage, not nearly as good as Phantom Slash, but it's okay. We do get comboed a little bit, but that's okay. We still have our health, and we have a lot of healing, so we actually have a pretty good chance of beating this first try. I do manage to get her health down pretty low before dodging a Scarlet Aeonia, but then she uses a Waterfowl Dance right on top of me, and it's game over. Now we've officially lost this run, but it's not over yet. The video isn't over. The run is over. We lost, hands down, but I have a plan, and it's going to be pretty fun. So we're going in with our original plan, which is the Grave Scythe with Black Flame Tornado, and the goal here is to get a Poise Break, and then once we get a Poise Break, we riposte, and then as she's standing up, we go for a Black Flame Tornado. Once that happens, she's going to lose about half of her health. We just got to get that first Poise Break. And of course, the Deflecting Hard Tier is so good for this, so we get that Poise Break. Nice riposte, our stamina will regen just enough for us to use this attack, and this Black Flame Tornado is just going to chunk her down, and the final hit from it throws her into the air and back on the ground. It's great. That was half of her health gone in just a single combo. We can dodge her Waterfowl Dance pretty easily before we start to do this combo once more. Once again, we get a Poise Break here, and that Poise Break leads to a riposte, and that riposte leads to another Black Flame Tornado, and that should take her into phase 2. Well, not should, it definitely will take her into phase 2. We sprint up after her Scarlet Aeonia recovery and get another Black Flame Tornado off, throwing her into the air and onto the ground, and then go for a heavy attack to get her closer to a Poise Break so we can do our fun combo once more. The Poise Break never came, but another Scarlet Aeonia did, so we run up to her and go for another Black Flame Tornado that should take her pretty low. We toss her into the air, and yeah, she's almost dead, so we just go for one more, and this fight's over. Black Flame Tornado is a great way to defeat Malenia, and this is just a fun run in general. If you guys like this sort of content, go ahead and subscribe. If not, that's totally okay. Your viewership is always enough for me. I love you all, and have a good one. Peace.